Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Brandon from the BKBK podcast, and I am joined once again by our fantastic co-hosts, Kyle McKenna, Brian
Hello.
Taylor, Kerry Taylor. Woo! Here we go. It's the BKBK podcast, where sports and the culture collide, and the New York Jets reign supreme, even though we stay losing. But it's all good.
Stay losing.
But it's all good. So, hey, New York, tri-state area. Hey, listen, countrywide, worldwide. We have a lot to talk about today. And you know what? Let's just start things off by talking about the disappointing loss that the Jets suffered when they played the best team in the NFL. The best team in the NFL is the Baltimore Ravens, and they're the best team because they have an electric quarterback by the name of Lamar Jackson. So who wants to start this one off in talking about how we got our heads kicked off, basically?
I don't know if anybody wants to really jump in there. Go ahead, Kyle.
What were our expectations for this game? You know, I thought that coming off of the Dolphins game, you know, where we're playing a team that is more our speed. You know, I like to think about like when I used to play basketball in the rec leagues. I played in the unlimited and the over 30 league, and the over 30 league was more like me playing against the Dolphins, and the unlimited was more like me playing against the Ravens. So, you know, it's like I didn't have high expectations going to this game. However, they weren't so bad in the beginning on offense once they got started getting things going a little bit. But it seemed as though the Ravens offense overwhelmed us, just kind of like it's overwhelmed everyone else in the league so far. Do you guys see it different?
So I guess the expectation was probably around the same because I was playing against Lamar Jackson in fantasy. I was hoping he didn't score 17 touchdowns. But, of course, you know, he had to do his thing. So, you know, 42-21 was the final score. I thought that was probably around where I expected us to land. I felt like in the first couple of quarters we kind of hung in there, didn't make some excellent play call decisions on some 4th and 1s.
Of course not.
I have no problem going for it on 4th and 1, but, you know, throwing it, I think it was 2 times when we went for it on 4th and 1. It just encapsulizes the coaching and just decision making for the play calling. That was just terrible. But other than that, I thought Sam Darnold looked okay, right? I thought that versus a very good team. I think he hung in there, and for a while he looked very good. And there was some plays where his head scratching, but you don't know if it was because it was the 4th or 5th string wide receiver that was out there running a route. Or tight end, or whomever it was, or
the play calling.
Could have been the play calling. I mean,
I'm really on this coach's case.
It's hard to.
I'm sorry.
It's really hard to tell from that perspective. But I thought the defense hung in there as long as they could. But playing against Lamar Jackson, who's done this and looked like this against every single other team in the league, and you know, with our 4th and 5th string inside linebackers, corners.
Yeah, you know, I think Bless played well.
Jamal Adams did not play on defense. Our best player.
Did not play at all.
Quinn Williams didn't play.
Right.
So
I think Brown's reception, that touchdown towards the end of the half, was a direct reflection of the secondary not communicating, and that was you know due in large part of the fact that Jamal Adams wasn't there.
Is Marcus May playing for us? I can't tell because I never really see him make a play.
I think he had like 5 tackles during that game.
I see Marcus May doing things.
I agree. I think I've been really hard on Marcus May, and that's because I feel like every time that there's a missed tackle or a big play, he's in the scene.
Right.
He's in the frame. And is that a symptom of the fact that he's trying to overcompensate for somebody else who isn't covering their assignment, or because he in fact was the individual who made the error? You know, if you look at his and I had to do this, and I'm not really a big pro football focus guy, but when you look at his Pro Football Focus, he is, you know, not as bad as what the eye test is in terms of being in the frame.
Am I comparing him? Okay, go ahead.
prior to this game. I don't know what it was after this game. I'm talking about up leading up to this game.
Am I comparing him to Jamal Adams, right? And how much he? I mean, I'm just internally talking out loud, right?
Now, you're comparing him to Jamal Adams, but right now Jamal Adams is rated as a defensive player of the year candidate.
Right. So that's what I mean. I
okay.
mean, so it's hard to really compare those two because they were drafted in the same draft, in the first round and the second round.
Yeah.
And so when I look at Jamal Adams and his impact on the game, but he's put in positions to make impact plays as far as the sacks, and it's not like he has 10 interceptions out here, right? But he has a lot of sacks and stuff like that. But he's a strong safety. He's at the line of scrimmage.
They're asked to do totally different things.
Exactly. So that's what I'm saying. And I might be beating him up because of that fact, right?
I'll tell you what, though, as far as free safety is concerned, we're not hearing all of the positive acclaims regarding him, but we're not hearing
Marcus May.
lot. Yeah, Marcus May. Yeah, we're not hearing a lot of negatives either. So I think he's playing kind of average. I'd say not average. I think he's playing above average.
Above average.
I'd say he's giving me or giving our team like a B- to a C+. And we're looking at our strong safety, giving us A+++ until he hurt his ankle. So I think Marcus May is a pretty good free safety. I think he needs to improve and continue to improve, but I don't look at him as someone that's holding us back in any way defensively.
Let me ask you guys a question. Like I used to be like a daily reader of the paper and like the waiver wire, so I knew whenever somebody was signed or activated and stuff like that. And granted, I don't really do that anymore. I don't know if anybody does because people don't read the paper the same. But every week we go into these games and I see people on the field that I have no idea who they are or how they got there.
Exactly.
Like we have Jeff Smith. Jeff Smith wasn't on my radar at all.
No.
Still not on my radar.
Right. He sounds like somebody with a big mustache who's like your substitute teacher.
My goodness. With a funny voice.
Like he just got signed off the street. And
Mr.
then
Smith to the office.
You got number 60. I think his name is Willis.
What you talking about, Willis?
I knew we were going there with that.
Yeah.
What position does he play?
That was a lob, man. It was a lob.
That sounds like an offensive guard.
No, he's a D end or a D tackle.
That's a terrible number for a defense. That's a terrible number for a defensive.
Well, that just goes to show you how deep you're going too when you have to give somebody a number 60.
The numbers count,
Numbers
man.
in uniform.
Where was I yesterday? I was in the wait. Before I go, I was walking to a store yesterday or wherever I was at, and they had different strokes on the TV. Right. So.
Oh wow.
Right. Yeah. Sidebar. But go ahead, Kyle. I'm sorry.
Cozy TV.
No relevance, but still funny.
But still very funny.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah. But I feel like a lot of the people on the field, like Kennedy, for instance, like he showed up out of nowhere a few weeks ago. All of a sudden, he's playing 80 plays at D-back.
I don't even know who you're talking about, bro. I feel like I'm not even watching the same game.
You have to tell us who they are
right.
and what position they play.
Hey, Kyle,
I have no idea who you're talking about.
Hey, Kyle, when you said
Kennedy, Kennedy is a nickel D-back.
Bro, when you said Kennedy, before we even said anything, all three of us at the table looked at each other like
Yeah.
What the what?
That and that's when you talk about your organization and where it's at as far as player personnel and
that
Joe
just
Douglas,
shows you how much they're pulling up from the practice squad each week because we're decimated by injuries. So.
Well, they said we've played 70 players have I think started for us or played for us.
Yuck!
Oh my God, I've never heard a stat like that.
I've heard
70 different people.
Right, I've heard estimations that 27 of the what are we allowed to carry on the active roster? 55? 53. So 27 of the 53 have been on the DL.
Wow.
I'm not talking about even starters. I'm talking about the entire team.
And
that is ridiculous.
And for, all you modern culture people, the DL, he's not talking about incognito.
Funny.
Incognito. He's talking about like the designated. What is it? What is it? DL called again? The
disabled list.
Disabled list. My bad. I was saying, but the disabled list. That means they heard that. Oh my goodness,
that's crazy.
Terrible.
And how can you? That said, how can you evaluate? I'm just being playing devil's advocate. How can you evaluate a head coach? based on that.
Yeah, I'll tell you how. Hold on, let me put the camera on myself. I'll tell
Didn't
you,
stop the Knicks.
Yeah, I'll tell you how you can.
Fired.
Yeah. So first of all, he's not a good game manager. Secondly, he doesn't call plays well. Thirdly, the best offensive player on our team rarely gets the ball.
Yeah.
Okay. He hasn't had 100-yard rushing a game yet, and we're in week 15. Le'Veon Bell, all-pro Le'Veon Bell.
I think he bowled a 260 in the last
Yeah,
time.
he did. We can talk about that too.
With the orange hue pants on.
Yeah.
Do you think? Do you
Leather.
guys think?
Leather.
What'd
Do
you
you guys
say?
think he's total? Do you guys think that Le'Veon Bell is totally right? Like
In what
Le'Veon Bell,
regard?
like, I mean, I don't think that we have the same Le'Veon Bell from 2 years ago playing for us right now.
I disagree with you.
So what evidence have you seen on the field of it? Because he has that slow hesitation thing. He's playing behind a bad offensive line. They handed the ball off to him, 20-something times in the last game.
Not 20-something times. He got exactly 20 carries, and then he got targeted in the passing game twice and caught one.
Okay, now
and he
in
ran for 87
shape,
yards, 4.1 yards a carry, which is decent.
So in no way, shape, or form am I saying that we are completely using his skill set to the max. We talked about this when we just acquired him, that I thought he was the best slot receiver in possibly in the league.
Yeah.
And we've only split him out a few times.
Yeah.
But I don't know. With him running the ball, there's just a little something that's not there that was there before.
If
acceleration wise or whatever, instinctually.
If I may, I disagree with you respectfully, Kyle. I think that Le'Veon Bell still has that giddy up. I think that he is not being put in a position to come out on top. He's being put in position. He's playing a secondary role. Gase likes to throw the ball, all righty? And he is using the pass to set up the run rather than the other way, and which is creating a huge imbalance. He is a secondary thought to Adam Gase, and I'm just using the evidence of the 15 weeks of football that we've seen. I
agree.
I
agree.
Yeah.
He's not using him in the passing game at all. I mean, you can't debate the fact that he's not using him in the passing game at all. When he was with the Pittsburgh Steelers, he was like a number one wide receiver.
Absolutely.
At the end of the day, he led the team with Antonio Brown on the team.
Yeah.
Right? Led the team in receptions. So
1 year.
1 year, right?
year.
So I mean, yeah.
Any other years he was second, behind with like maybe 3 or 4 less receiving attempts.
And making incredible catches. And then in the run game, you would see guards pull. You saw him involved in more traps, more toss sweeps. He would have a lead blocker, because he likes to do that little stutter in the hole. And the dude still cuts amazing. He's a great runner. He gets that one cut, and then bang, he's out. And we're not seeing that. And plus our offensive line, if you look at the Pittsburgh Steelers with Le'Veon Bell, there's a certain push that you need to be effective as a running team. And our O-line gets penetrated way too much to have any sort of effective push.
Sure.
And that's,
so
let me add all those up together. This is what you get. I'm sorry, Kerry.
Let me finish my thought a little bit.
Go ahead.
All the things that I said, they all have to do also with a bad O-line, and even if what I'm saying is true, I think that next year, when we have some improvements to the offensive line, some improvements to the receivers, you're gonna see that Le'Veon Bell that we saw before back again. I fear,
Kyle, is that he may not even be here next year if Adam Gase is, in Joe Douglas's ear, based on the contract and all those other things, which I think is still fairly reasonable, right? For, the fact that we don't have to pay Sam Darnold yet. So my fear is that he might not be here in order to realize that with a good offensive line. But go ahead.
And Gase didn't want him in the first
Le'Veon Bell's
place.
contract is not an issue to me on a team that has a salary cap.
Not at all.
I don't think it's an issue at all. whatever second string. Actually, no, it was Troy Aikman and Joe Buck. Who I don't hate. I hate
No.
Joe Buck anyway. Troy Aikman's okay, but Troy Aikman kept going on about his contract. We got him on the cheap. We probably overpaid for him, but he's not. That's not a factor at all to me, especially when you got Trumaine Johnson's salary on your salary cap.
Oh my goodness.
Get rid of that.
Ouch.
But yeah, I think that he is in a get back year. I don't think that we're seeing the best Le'Veon Bell we could possibly see for all the factors that we mentioned. The O-line being a big part. If you look at Adam Gase as a play caller in Miami, he ran the ball more than any other coach in the league.
Are you sure?
And I'm sure Brian can pull those stats because he always finds stats like that.
I think we need to pull up those stats because I don't know if I believe that on the surface.
When Tannehill was his quarterback, who was like a converted wide receiver.
Yes.
In
college,
great, though. Right? Yeah, he was playing great right now, Tannehill. But when Gase had Tannehill and a bunch of no-name backs that are not Le'Veon Bell, he ran the crap out of the ball. So I disagree with you, Brandon, that
right?
he just wants to throw the ball. I think that he'd run the ball if he could.
Well, basically, one of you guys are gonna have to pull up the stats on that because I don't just on the top, on the surface, I don't know if I believe that he ran, the ball more than he passed when he was with Miami. Two,
who's the back that they traded to the Eagles that was on the Dolphins?
Jay Ajayi.
Yeah.
Jay Ajayi had like
250-yard
games.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he did.
Okay. Off of how many attempts? Because that's an indictment on the coach.
And then they traded him.
Mm-hmm.
Because the no-name running back that they had behind him was doing better than him.
Okay.
And then they said, all right, so then we'll trade him because we got two running backs now.
All right.
But I don't even remember who that was.
I don't remember either, but here's my point. What he's doing now, I would say that Bell is a way better back than Jay Ajayi. Okay? So then why don't you have that same offensive philosophy and run the best player? He's better than our quarterback. He's better than Robbie Anderson. He's our best offensive weapon. Build it around him.
You don't have an O-lineman that would start on any other team in the league.
That is correct. I understand that. So then you put him out in the slot so that they can at least, he can do a 3-step drop and get like a nice slant on him.
Can't disagree with you on that.
Get the ball in his hands. He's a running back, but like we said as well, he is also a slot receiver. He's a football player, and he can create. He can create havoc, and we're not putting him in that position to do anything.
No disagreement on that.
87 yards is the most yards rushing that he's had through the first 15 weeks. That is terrible, and I'm not blaming Bell. I'm blaming Gase. He's whack. He's terrible. He's terrible.
This is my clear indictment.
His only. I'm sorry. Let me just finish ranting. Yeah. His only claim to fame. Is that season that Peyton Manning threw for 50. For 50 touchdowns. Okay, but Peyton Manning, if he never did that, he'd still be in the Hall of Fame.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is a rant.
Yeah, it is a rant. Like, I cannot stand Gase.
It's going to continue.
And what about that play that whatever. He's just not a good play call. He's not a good game manager. And you know what? He's not a good people person either. I really wish we had John Harbaugh.
Uh-oh.
I love this dude.
That's the segue.
I love John Harbaugh.
You stay looking at other people's
I do because we ain't got it. I just got Stephen A on y'all real quick.
Right.
Wait, do that again, Kerry. He's like, so that's my love for John Harbaugh.
Right.
Yeah, it's funny because it's accentuated by the fact that we played the Ravens this week too. But I definitely think that you make me your true hatred for Adam Gase right now makes me defend Adam Gase much more than I feel comfortable.
I wish him and his family well. God bless him.
Oh wow!
But as a coach,
happy holidays.
Seriously, as a coach of my New York Jets, I want to lop his head
He's
off.
not on your Christmas card list.
Nah, not at all,
Okay,
bro.
all right, cool. But Kerry, you was about to say something though.
So to continue the point, right? We're going to discuss at some point during this podcast, what makes organizations successful. That's the leadership, that's the coaching,
front office.
That's the front office. That's the evaluators of talent and your evaluation of what you can do with that talent. And we have somebody in our organization in the form of Le'Veon Bell, who has been a perennial All-Pro because of his versatility, his ability to be an All-Pro at a slot position, and his ability to be an All-Pro at the running back position. And you were not, as the coach of this organization, talking about Adam Gase, been able to incorporate that into your offense as a proven player. It's about being able to adapt and change your offense to fit an individual who is going to be a Hall of Famer, right? In his proverbial prime, right? As opposed to an organization that has a player that they draft in the first round who, by many accounts, shouldn't even be a quarterback, but developed an individual, a quarterback in the form of Lamar Jackson, into a quarterback who broke records.
I love what Kerry's saying right now. I absolutely
Who's
love
been
it.
unproven.
Get more. Get life. Keep going. Get your life.
Right.
I love this.
Get your life.
Get life.
I mean, that just speaks volumes to what we're trying to accomplish as an organization, as to where Baltimore is right now, as to where they used to be, because of the consistent leadership and in the form of their front office, in the form of their talent evaluators, and in the form of their coaches.
And it takes all three of those things,
all three
right?
working in unison.
Oh, absolutely.
In unison.
You got Ozzie Newsome there, too. So we talk about Harbaugh as being the coach and stuff, and I think he gets a lot of praise, which he should, because he's out front. But without Ozzie Newsome, none of that comes into.
Absolutely.
He's one of the best GMs ever.
Absolutely. So you have to
Hall
have
of Fame.
Yes.
Hall of Fame. GM.
Sorry. Hall of Fame Ozzie Newsome,
right?
Who should be not only in the Hall of Fame for being a tight end,
I think he
and
is,
playing in the league, but also was he's already there.
Yes, he's already there as a tight end. Yep.
But as a general manager, he should all be in there as well once it's all said and done. If they allow that,
he's
right?
a better general manager than he was a tight end.
But let me make the point.
I'll go out there and say
and
that.
that's tough because he was a heck of a tight end.
Right. But let me make the point. I'm not about consistency for the purpose of just consistency's sake. I'm for the purpose of consistency so that you can develop
Church, tabernacle.
I can't remember my point anymore now.
Tabernacle.
Tabernacle.
No, I think Kerry, I think what you're saying is like Brandon said, it's right on. I think that you need the consistency with the innovation. You can't just be consistently status quo.
Right.
And like this is the way that we've always done things. So this is how we're doing it now.
You can be consistently status quo.
I don't mean that.
And then just be a losing organization.
I mean to the extent that, we're going to replace Adam Gase now. What's going to happen is Sam Darnold's going to hear another voice in his third year. 3 voices in 3 years, there's no consistency there. Yeah, but if it's consistently terrible, then I'm not for that consistency.
Exactly.
Right? So my thing is get somebody in here that has a long-term 10-year plan from the perspective of a general manager, right? And I'm hoping that who we have here, by all accounts, is that individual.
Right.
Let him do his job, right? If that means that he decides to let Gase go, or even if that means that he decides to keep Gase and bring on somebody else, change what's going on, right? That doesn't mean change for change's sake. That means, this didn't work. Let's do something different. My different would be keep Gase, okay, but bring in an offensive coordinator that can work with Gase, where Gase can just focus on managing the entire team, and the team process.
So basically,
right?
what you're saying is bringing an offensive coordinator that Gase will allow to call the plays.
Right.
You know?
Right.
So, yes. I mean,
because your defense is working. Your defense is working. He is hands off on that defense. Am I right or wrong?
yes,
with
he
that?
is.
Yeah.
At a point during the season, we had the number one defense in the league.
Yeah.
Right. With players that I have, like you said, no names: Hewitt, Burgess,
Copeland,
our defensive backs, who I swear, if I saw them on the street or if I heard their name, oftentimes I wouldn't even know who they were.
Austin Bless.
I love
Mallet.
That guy. Love that guy. We've been blessed with Bless.
Hold on a second.
Right?
Let me just say one thing. I got a couple people, listening to the show here.
All right.
Well, more than a couple people. Yeah, the Hive. Danny Thomas. You guys are really comfortable going into these fantasy playoffs in 1 hour. Got to log off and get my lineup right. You see Danny Thomas?
Get your lineup right, bro.
And then
We're
check this out.
you.
Fellow Baldwin Bruin. Because fellow Baldwin Bruins, Kevin Smith said Brandon is ornery right now. And I was like, yeah, I am.
He is.
And then Mike Soffarelli, Kevin Smith, this is exactly how we used to act when I would dunk all over him.
If he comes up with one more dunk story.
I know. I used to
I
used to yam it on Sof so much he almost went Caribbean.
He would run from underneath the rim,
yam,
too.
Yav yam, sweet yam and yam. I used to yam it on him so much, Soffarelli, over at the Campbell's house.
Lord.
Sof has really big feet, and it used to be
Funny.
like, you're gonna be so tall, and he never got that tall.
Soffarelli has hobbit feet.
It was like a curse.
She's a hobbit, huh?
Yeah, hairy at the top too.
Oh,
Oh my God!
Don't let him karate kick you, bro.
Don't let him karate kick you.
You might need to shave afterwards.
Oh my gosh!
No, I remember when I stayed over Carrie's house when we did the last the mobile at the Irish pub.
Oh yeah.
I was like kind of like turned around like a little out of sorts, and because the house that Carrie lives across from looks exactly like Sof's, but it's like a block over.
Yeah, 2 blocks, two blocks.
Yeah,
over.
2 blocks over,
yeah.
and I was like,
that's our hood right there.
Is that Soffarelli's house? It's like the 3 blocks in a row they put the same house. I was like waiting for like Matt and Mike Soffarelli to walk outside. It's funny.
Yeah, man. So hey, let's continue this because I really want to compare and contrast like a good franchise versus a not so good one. So we were talking about this before we started rolling. So we have the Baltimore Ravens versus the New York Jets.
Sure.
We can use that game as an illustration of what we're talking about here.
But before you get started, where was Baltimore prior to their regime? What kind of organization were they?
They were the Cleveland Browns before that.
Or Cleveland.
They were Cleveland Browns. Terrible.
Right.
And then they moved on
over.
over.
So this is an expansion franchise, basically, is what we're saying. Yeah.
But the Browns were going to be a good team though that year before they moved over. Yeah.
Who was the first Ravens head coach?
Billick.
Brian Billick.
I think it was Brian Billick. Yeah.
Brian Billick he went to a Super Bowl.
He did
with Trent Dilfer.
Yep.
And a great defense with Rex Ryan.
Yep.
And Marvin Lewis.
Harbaugh was on that team too, special teams coach.
I think he was the special teams coach, and Brian Billick has always been known as an offensive-minded coach. And you know what he did? Being a good coach, he said, "This is what I have, okay, and I am going to fit my philosophy and wrap it around the players that I have here, their strengths, and kind of lessen their weaknesses, so to speak." He's an offensive-minded guy, but remember, he was all about the run game, quick passing. Jamal Lewis.
Yeah.
And they had a great defense.
It was all.
It kind of worked for the Jets. It kind of worked for the Jets when Rex brought that same philosophy to us for the first 3 years.
Absolutely.
With Sanchez, and Brian Billick wrote a game planning book that I used early on in my career. That kind of set up my whole play call sheet from that book. So I agree with you. He's a very sharp guy as far as that's concerned. And then Rex and Billick had this theory that if you had a really good defense and you rushed the ball over 30 attempts per game, you were probably gonna win.
Well.
And that's something
I
that I heard.
With that. I do not disagree with that.
Well, I think it's a different NFL than when he said it.
Copy that.
Well, what kind of team do they have right now that differs from what you just explained?
Yeah.
You know, a very good defense, a team that runs the ball possession, but they have a quarterback that is lights out in terms of, you know, you give him an inch, he's going to take, 60.
Yeah.
So, I mean, double tight end sets, with Brown, widening the field. I mean, that's basically what they have always been doing.
And they have a good O-line. They have one of the best O-lines in football. They're up there with the Saints, the Cowboys, Baltimore, and those are the top three. I know that. I can't go top five. I don't remember off the top of my head. But, yeah, those are the top three, and that helps. So just to go back to what I was saying is we're seeing illustrative examples of what represents a top high-end franchise versus a low-end franchise. And it's like, look at what Coach John Harbaugh was given, okay? He's got 2 picks 2 years ago in the draft. He takes a tight end. It's his first pick. I'm sorry, 2 picks in the first round. His first pick was a tight end. And what was the guy's name? Tight end Hearst, right, Brian?
Hayden Hearst.
Hayden Hearst was taken first. Then the last pick of the first round was Lamar Jackson.
Yep.
Okay? You had half the league wanting to push Lamar Jackson into being a wide receiver. They wanted to make him Cordell. They wanted to make him whoever else, a wide receiver. That is
Randall
why
Cobb.
yeah, all that. And Lamar Jackson made a conscious decision. If you notice and you remember the combine, he did not run the 40-yard dash in the combine because he was like, I'm a quarterback. I want to play quarterback in the NFL. I'm not going to let these turkeys tell me what I can do when I've played quarterback my whole life. I just happen to be fast and remarkable.
Turkeys.
Okay? And so
and there was enough film on him to tell how fast he was.
Exactly.
So,
wait, were they jive turkeys?
Yeah, they were jive turkeys. Yeah, all of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. My name is Lamont. Jive turkey. Hey, Leroy. No, I'm playing. So then Harbaugh and the front office, okay, they know what's happening here. They take him in the first round. Doesn't matter that they took him in the last with the last pick of the first round. Still a first round quarterback. They take him. Now, the offense that was established then was more leaning towards Flacco because he was their franchise quarterback, Super Bowl winning quarterback, might I add, even though he had started to decline, right?
Yep.
So everything was built pro style, okay? How much guts and confidence do you have to switch your entire offensive philosophy around from the front office down to the coaching to fit this big question mark of Lamar Jackson, to the point where another Hall of Fame GM, Bill Polian, was killing Lamar Jackson, said that he wouldn't make it in the NFL.
But let's take a step back, though.
Go ahead.
In his first season, he wasn't even the starter at the beginning of the season.
Right.
So Joe Flacco goes out there. He plays. Doesn't play exceptionally well. Again, Super Bowl winning quarterback, Joe Flacco.
Correct.
Flacco.
Yeah.
Right? And then mid-season, they decided to make a change.
Yep.
So you know what, Lamar? It's your ball.
Yeah.
Go out there and do that.
Get your lumps.
They don't have time to switch the entire offense because the offense that they had last year wasn't this one.
No, it wasn't.
And Lamar Jackson didn't look great, but he won all of his games going into the playoffs, I believe, right? As far as the win-loss record is concerned. But the important part is he takes him to the playoffs.
Yeah.
Right? And, I think they had one, maybe the first victory.
I think so.
Right, they won one, and they ended up losing the second game or whatever else. But they planted the seeds at that point in time to say, you know what, this is going to be my guy. It's your ball. You're going to run with it.
Right.
Then had an entire offseason in order to switch around
personnel,
say, you know what?
and offensive philosophy.
Right.
Yes, sir.
You're going to figure it out. And he didn't look that great early on in preseason and all that kind of stuff. He really didn't. He played and looked average. I mean, you didn't know that this is what you were going to see. And even during that stretch towards the end of last season, he didn't look like this. Right. But during the offseason, they said, you know what? We are going to wrap our offense, like you said before, around what you do well. Instead of you conforming to us, we're going to conform to you.
Yes.
We're going to go back to the offense that you were successful at in Louisville, right? And put players around you and a system in place in order for you to be successful. Yeah. And this is what we are seeing. Yes, go ahead.
Can I jump in there with a couple things? So to piggyback on what Brian's saying there. So the offense that Bobby Petrino ran at Louisville, very similar to what they're doing right now. But the Greg Roman and the offensive coaching staff at Baltimore went and consulted with the person who is generally considered to be the triple option guru of college football, and that's Paul Johnson, who was the Navy coach, and then he just retired as the Georgia Tech head coach. So this was something that I found and it was like embedded in an article that came out this week from the offseason, that they had gone out and they said, let's talk to Paul Johnson and let's talk about this triple option thing and how we can make it work for Lamar. And I think two things here are really different than the situation with the Jets currently. Ozzie Newsome and the coaching staff there have a track record, and they do not lack the confidence in being able to go out and take chances because they do not feel that they're going to get fired if they fail.
Indeed.
So they have the confidence to do these things. Also,
why do they feel like they're not going to get fired if they fail? Because they already have a proven track record of success.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right. So that's something that you just don't get. That's something that's earned over time.
And Gase has not earned that.
The second thing here is that a good chess player is thinking 10 moves ahead. And I think that the Lamar Jackson pick was from inside that front office was thinking moves ahead. Because if you look at it, Joe Flacco has not had a productive game since they made that change and put Lamar Jackson in there. Sure. He didn't do it for Denver. Drew Lock is starting in Denver now. They pulled the plug on any Joe Flacco stuff there. They knew that he was done.
Yeah.
And they knew that they had to change. So they go out and they get Lamar Jackson. They go out and they get Robert Griffin. And Robert Griffin had success before all his injuries in Washington doing this Lamar Jackson light type thing.
And that's why they grabbed him, because they decided to build their offensive philosophy around this electric player called Lamar Jackson. And if anything were to happen to him, they would have another effective quarterback of the same cut from the same cloth.
Yes. But they also had to learn from the mistakes of the Redskins.
Yes.
In that if you go too much too fast and you don't throw the ball at all,
right.
You're going to break this guy's legs.
Yeah.
And they signed the running back from New Orleans.
Yep.
I think that
Ingram.
that was
huge.
That was
huge.
That to me is almost just as significant as any other move that they've made.
Absolutely. I'll tell you another one that's borderline just as significant. In that same draft, first round, Hayden Hearst, right? Tight end.
Mm-hmm.
In the third round, they picked Andrews. All right.
Sure.
Andrews is their other tight end who actually is probably going to make the Pro Bowl this year because he's got like 7 or 8 touchdowns.
Yep.
Great stats. Yeah.
I know he had one against us this past Thursday,
Ouch.
and he's balling. So you have a bunch of I think all 3 of their tight ends are great tight ends. Their offensive line, top 3 in the league. You have a quarterback who is a running quarterback and also a not even fairly, but just straight up an accurate passer because he keeps the defense off balance with what he can do with his legs. And here's another thing, okay? Let's throw this Wonderlic out of the window as far as like being the foundation of as far as how smart quarterbacks are, because not only is he just basically making miracles with his legs and with his arm, but he's reading the defense too. And I don't want to take anything away from this man's football IQ because he seems to be doing it in a way that, like, honestly, the NFL really hadn't seen before. He just broke Michael Vick's record running the ball, and he's got like 3 more games left. I think his accuracy, as far as passing accuracy, is in the 70s. Okay, and I don't, if one of us wants to look it up, I think it's above 70%. And then look what he's doing to the locker room. These dudes are going in press conferences, hugging up on each other, singing with each other. Ingram is all over the place, loving this dude. John Harbaugh's loving this dude. I mean, like, he changed the entire franchise, and John Harbaugh allowed it to change. And I love it. I love it. I love it.
Okay.
I mean,
all right,
whatever.
easy. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a couple of people that are Ravens fans that I'm like, this is making me sick right now.
It is making me sick, but
throw heaping all of this love upon them.
Right.
I understand it, but
let's talk about these Jets.
Yes.
Yeah, but the Jets, whoever's in the Jets front office needs to be able to make moves without feeling that the first failure that they do, or in Brandon's case, the first bad play call that they make, that they're gonna get fired.
Not the first.
The first,
No.
Kyle.
Again, I feel like Brandon's making me this Gase apologist. It's like
They shouldn't.
I don't like Gase that much. I think I have more patience than Brandon.
We do need to have patience, though. I agree with you, Kyle. I mean, I think 3 out of 4 at this table are saying don't fire Gase this year, right? I mean, he's the only one that's like, hey.
What do you mean this year? Like
at the end of this year, that you
He's
want to get rid of him.
2019 or 2020.
That's what I'm saying.
January,
because
that's not. Yeah,
I'm
well,
saying give
after
him
the
this
season,
entire year.
right?
After the season, get rid of him. That's what I'm saying.
No, I'm
Are you
not-
guys
I'm not
not
saying
saying
that.
that?
You guys are not saying that?
3 out of 4 not saying
That's fine.
Yeah.
I'm riding on this. And
okay. All right.
Gone.
That's
2020 is gone.
That's fine. But listen, you have to understand what happened over the last 12 months. So the Jets, and let's push it up to the front office. We keep talking about the coaches. We keep talking about the general managers. But the front office, to me, is part of the problem.
Absolutely.
Right? The structure that we have here in having both the GM and the coach separately reporting up through the owner doesn't work.
That's terrible.
Doesn't work. And here's a perfect example. Look at what just happened. What did we say after the season? If you're going to fire them all. Right? If you're going to fire Bowles, who, is Bowles better than Gase?
Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Todd Bowles is better than Gase.
I don't necessarily think so. I think they both are probably not so
That
hot,
Tampa Bay defense don't look good right now.
right? But anyway, before I go there.
Give him time. Give him time.
Funny.
You don't give a coordinator
Stephen A.
time.
Phillips over there.
Funny. But again, you get rid of Bowles, you have to get rid of McCagnon. And what do the owners do? Let's keep McCagnon and make him make that decision and have him part of the decision-making process to bring in a new coach. And what ends up happening, we end up with Gase, right? Jury is still out except for Brandon, right? And now Gase and McCagnon don't get along because they have zero relationship, right? And so then you can say that Gase kind of undermined McCagnon a little bit, which I didn't mind anyway because McCagnon should have been gone anyway. But now you don't have a general manager who picked all the players as far as the draft is concerned and free agency and spent all the money. Now you're scrambling in order to try to find a general manager. You hire somebody who now has been on the job for X amount of months, but he has nothing to do, right? He's trying to maneuver a roster in his first year with no draft picks to do it under because the draft is already over and no money to spend because free agency is over.
And can I say something? I think if he was here, say in January rather than June, our GM, he wouldn't have pushed the envelope and signed and taken Khalil out of retirement.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean,
but he was trying to do something.
Yeah.
So I respect that, even though
it's whatever you can do at that point in time. I mean, it's the terrible time probably the worst time to hire a general manager at that point, right? But it is what it is. But I think 3 out of the 4 of the people on this table are saying, all right, well, one of the reasons why Joe Douglas may be here, right, because it's all in the press and this and that, is that Gase is here and they have a relationship to be able to build. So let's provide an opportunity for that unit to coagulate and to go through.
Yes.
Right.
Coagulate.
And go through an offseason together to pick the players in the draft and pick the players as far as free agency is concerned and to shape this roster at this point in time, which is supremely flawed and has gone through a ton of injuries, some of which you'll get some players back. And at the same time, build an offensive line around Sam Darnold, get him some weapons potentially. But if you now take out Gase, then what are we doing here at the end of the day? I just feel like it's too early. I don't love Gase either. I hate everything that you hate about him. We hate it too.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying we got to give this unit time to be able to move forward and see what the results are without Mono as well.
I disagree because I think if you have a cancer, that you need to cut it out as soon as you can instead of letting it grow.
The cancer is the offensive line too. The cancer is the offensive line. The cancer is the roster. The roster is eroded, and it's one of the reasons that Bowles failed as well. If you're saying that Bowles is better than Gase, but the problem was more of the roster than it was the coaching.
I get it. And that's why we got a new GM, because McCagnon was letting it, and so now we need to get rid of the coach now too, because I don't like the offensive philosophy. You're not feeding the best player on our team and borderline the best player in the NFL in Le'Veon Bell. You know what I'm saying? You're not having the offense go through him. You're having it go through your passing attack, and let your quarterback grow through your running back.
I think the last time we had a good unit together as far as GM and coach was Tannenbaum and Rex Ryan.
I agree.
Right,
absolutely.
right.
Yeah,
and that's the last time, coincidentally, we went to the playoffs. So
AFC Championship twice.
Right.
Not just the playoffs.
So now you
got precipice of the Super Bowl.
So now you got a team, man. Let the team go through their bumps. Let the team go through their opportunities to grow and give them a couple of shots at this. And I just think that if you change it around, Gase is an NFL coach, probably not the best play caller that we've ever seen, but he's shown in the past that he's been able to change, like Jay Ajayi being out there and having 200-yard games.
And like Tannehill too, right? Like Tannehill too?
Yeah. So
no, I was being condescending because Tannehill...
He was injured half the time that he was out there.
Well, you know what? And then the other half, he wasn't doing anything. But you know what? He's doing something now. He took over for Tennessee's first-round draft pick, Marcus Mariota, and the dude is playing like the last 5 or 6 games like a top 5 quarterback.
Well, then we can't ignore the fact
and you blame that on Gase?
Right. Well, we can't ignore the fact that he was developed under Gase.
Yes. Oh, he was developed under Gase, but you know what? He didn't do anything under Gase's system.
But he was hurt a large percent of the time.
Okay, and then the other half, he wasn't hurt.
2 full seasons he was hurt.
Yeah.
Okay. Right. So he was he still under his rookie contract when he got traded?
I believe so. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So 4 years.
Hey man.
Right.
You know what?
Look, I am no Gase apologist.
No.
I will let you know that.
How about
now.
the guy that replaced him? What is it? Matt Moore and
in Miami?
Cutler and in Miami, the guy that replaced Tannehill when he was hurt.
They all stink right now. It doesn't really matter.
Yeah, they all stink. Coach him up, coach. You're not doing nothing.
But to Brian's point, what I want to point out is that Gase was involved in the hire of Douglas.
Right.
Right. So, but Douglas
we don't think,
okay,
right?
That's I'm calling. You know what I'm calling.
Yes. Yes.
But my point is that Douglas has a longer term contract on purpose. Right. That was part of the stipulation.
Right.
So look, if I'm going to be here, I need to be here longer than that guy. Right. So that I can make decisions and not be fearful of what the ramifications are with my job. So that's why I'm saying that this guy is going to stay here for at least another year. Not what I want, but what I think is realistic.
Do you remember Douglas was holding us at bay for a little bit? Remember that?
Sure.
He was holding us at bay. He wasn't sure if he really wanted to come here.
Why would you?
Well,
right. Why would you?
Why would you?
Because
this wouldn't be my job.
My point is the fact that he has a longer-term contract highlights the fact that he understands that this is a long-term proposition, right? So I believe that he feels like, look, this guy was part of the hiring process.
Yeah.
He's here, right? So why not work with him? But if he doesn't, it doesn't work out with him, I still got more time on the back end, and then I can hire who I want to hire as my coach. So the realistic thing is to look. I have the leverage here, right? Because of the time frame that they've committed to me. So let me make you successful. Help me help you. Help me help you.
I hope he can do that, especially, after what Brian said. We know that they both report to the owners separately. Hopefully, that there is a limited amount of pride involved in this, and they can both, as you said, help me help you, And I do like Douglas thus far, even though we haven't seen a full body of work with him in this calendar year. But he does come from a good tree. He comes from the tree of Baltimore, as far as scouting people under the Ozzie Newsome tree, and the Eagles. Okay, both winning organizations. Both organizations that really know how to procure talent and put talent together. And hopefully, those seeds can be planted with the Jets. Because I believe in Douglas at this point. I'm willing to give Douglas more belief than I am with Adam Gase. I feel like I've seen Adam Gase. He was in our division in Miami. I never respected that Miami Dolphin team under Gase. Well, I haven't respected them in a while, since like Dan Marino or whatever. But, and then
Did
now
I'm.
Did
they beat us most of the time?
Yeah, they did. I still don't respect them.
Right.
Still terrible.
Look, I'm not a Gase apologist. I'm just stating facts.
I hear you.
What I
Sure.
mean?
I hear you.
I don't want him here either, but this
guys,
is what it is.
If we're talking about blueprints for a good franchise and what makes a good franchise too, I've been sending you guys little snippets on the text stream from this book, Gridiron Genius by Michael Lombardi.
Yeah.
It's available in audiobook too. I'm not getting any money. I'm not getting any money for it. It does sound like a plug
on Amazon too.
Yeah.
Amazon, any other retailers that you
retail
might
outlets.
But it is really good, in-depth stuff from the inside out. Lombardi worked for Bill Walsh. He worked for Belichick. And it kind of shows you what the thought processes are with how teams are built and the thought process about evaluating talent and also then maneuvering to get that talent. I went off on a little bit of a McCagnon rant on the text during the game while I was watching all these young kids go nuts for the Ravens on the field, like Mark Andrews, like Hearst, like Gus Edwards, who's a kid that I coached against in New York City. All this talent that just kind of came from the last three drafts. And then I looked at what McCagnon did for our last three drafts with Jaka Polite and Christian Hackenberg and all these wonderful players, 500,000 defensive tackles that we've drafted in the first round, first 10 picks. Going back to Dwayne Robertson, my favorite of all of them, and Quentin Copels, loved him too.
Oh yeah, but what about Golston? What about Vernon Golston?
Vernon Golston. Yeah, we're actually going back before McCagnon now with that.
Yeah, we are.
But I asked Brian this because Brian brought it up before. Brian, do you think that if Joe Douglas was hired at the time in which you suggest he should have been, that we still have Quinnen Williams on the team? Do we have a offensive lineman from the first three rounds of the draft that is starting for us now and is trending up as maybe a Pro Bowl player? And do we have maybe the pass rusher that you desired in Josh Allen from Kentucky, rushing the passer?
Yes, and yes. Can
I add one more yes, and then I'm gonna give it to you?
Absolutely.
B? The other yes, if we hired him, which would have been back in January, right when most GMs get hired, we would not have Adam Gase as a coach. Go ahead, B, take it away.
How do you know that?
So that I don't know. Right.
You don't know any of this, right?
Yeah, I don't know about the Adam Gase piece of it. I guess we'll never know that because of how everything played out.
So then you'll never know about what you're about to say right now.
No, but because again, he's not doing the hiring of it.
That was an ownership,
right? So that's
decision.
ownership.
That wasn't.
So it's ownership.
But I'm saying, like, since if we would have brought the GM on, right, then maybe the GM would have had more influence on who to hire as a head coach.
McCagnon didn't get along with Gase, so I don't think that he was involved in.
No,
the
coach might
have
been hired first too. B, you don't know that, right?
Well, we were saying if he was hired when GMs are normally hired, right? I was saying in January, so it's a big if, right?
Yeah.
So Bowles gone, right? We knew Bowles was going. So then they may have hired, if he's going to be hired in January, the GM first, and then thereafter the head coach.
So how did McCagnon and Bowles come about? Was it McCagnon before Bowles or Bowles before McCagnon? Because they were hired at the same time. I can't remember exactly. I think
they were both hired around the same time, and neither one of them was like McCagnon did not hire Bowles.
Correct. Yeah. So it probably would have played out the same way based on our structure. I think they were looking at Bowles because it was a little bit more of a high profile, position as far as the coach is concerned. So maybe in the news we heard a little bit more about him.
You have to do it pretty quick. You can't waste time on a coach because they'll be gone.
Correct.
By the time.
So I think there was hey, Bowles is our coach, and then McCagnon kind of came right afterwards. But anyway, getting back to Kyle's question, I don't think Quentin Williams is on this team right now. I don't think so. If that would be the case, he wouldn't have been drafted. I think Josh Allen probably would have been that pick. Because if you're talking about best player available versus what the need was at that point in time, it screamed Josh Allen being the pick at that point in time.
Screamed edge.
There wasn't an offensive lineman in the first round that was ranked that high. So maybe we would have moved down. But our offensive line would definitely be much better than it is right now because they would have focused more on it in the draft. Polite wouldn't have been drafted where he was in the third round. So that would have definitely not happened. So it might have been an offensive lineman at that point.
What number was Josh Allen drafted at?
7. And Quinnen was at 3.
I just remembered something that's very apropos to this conversation, and I'm going to throw it out there.
Sure.
Did you guys watch the Belichick Saban 24/7 thing on HBO?
No,
did not.
All right, so they have all this stuff from like they taped that conversation when Alabama had their pro day last year. So that's when they set that whole shoot up where they sat and talked. And they had like hot mic footage of them talking during the combine, during the pro day. And Belichick asked Nick Saban straight up, who are the best players here? And he says, Jonah Williams and the D tackles. So he mentioned Jonah Williams as a better player before mentioning Quinnen Williams or even mentioning Quinnen Williams by name. This is the head football coach of the team that Quinnen Williams played for. So my point with that is I think that Quinnen Williams is going to be a great football player. He should have been a great football player for another team other than ours.
Right.
He was overly hyped up in the draft process. I still think that Ed Oliver is going to be a better player than him when it's all said and done. Dynamic football player has got a little bit of an it thing that Quinnen Williams does not have to me. The only time will tell on that. But I thought it was very telling that, and I thought about this because you said there wasn't an offensive lineman that we could draft at number 3. And I agree with that wholeheartedly. I think that Josh Allen should have been the pick. But the fact that Saban says that that's the best player on his team, I think that says a lot to me.
Yeah, and then Jonah Williams, I believe, said that Josh Allen was the toughest player he ever went against. And that was
really?
Yeah, and that was one of the things.
That.
And that was during the whole draft process when they were talking about interviewing and stuff like that. Josh Allen was his toughest cover, but I think we have to move on.
Copy that.
Yeah.
So, hey guys, this is a great unpacking of our similar and
a lot of us were in our feelings.
Yeah,
feelings.
I got sensitive.
Right, meeting Brandon.
Hey, Brian, cue up that Ralph Tresvant song as we transition to this next thing. A little sensitive.
That's right.
But you know what? Listen, we're in the New York market, so we love the Jets. It's our team. It's what we grew up, supporting and everything. But let's talk about some other New York sport talk, some relevant news out there in the land of New York sports. We've got 2 other teams that we're going to talk about right now, and maybe others. But what's coming to the top of my head right now? Great signing by the Yankees. That's a whole lot of cheddar, man. For your man Cole.
That's right.
That's a whole lot of paper for that dude. So let's talk about that and what everyone's feelings are about the signing of Cole to the New York Yankees.
You also find out the whole sign stealing thing from him. Yeah. He comes in and explains the whole way that they stole the signs from us because he's coming from Houston.
Yeah. 2 birds, 1 stone, huh?
Yeah. So that's at least worth $1 million. To me, of the $245 million that he's getting, or whatever it is,
300 something, I think, over 10 years or something like that. I think he's getting like 34 a year.
These baseball contracts are crazy,
outrageous.
They really are.
And you weaken your top opponent, right? When you're talking about the Yankees going against Houston, year in and year out, last couple of years in the playoffs, and they eliminated them the last 2 years running, right?
It's definitely calculated.
Yeah,
it was a coup. I love it.
And he's, you're not just doing it. The Patriots used to do that, right? Steal from the AFC East or whatever, the best players that they felt and scouted, and they take, bring them. They still do that because you get to see them twice a year. But as far as the number 1 pitcher, I think that was definitely that was available. in free agency. So you don't have to trade something in order to get him. All you got to do is pay for the guy. And you put him immediately at the top of a rotation that has a lot of question marks, but some good players. And if they're healthy, I mean, that's a heck of a rotation. So, and he's still young. Was he 27?
I was about to say 28. Can't confirm, but he's still in his 20s, basically.
Yeah.
So this is baseball. You have cats that play 20 years.
Sure.
Talk about the leader of a franchise being able to do what he wants with confidence. Brian Cashman has been in the gauntlet for 20 years.
Sure.
That's crazy thought that you'd be able to keep that job for that long with the ownership being as fickle as they are.
High pressure position right there.
I mean, I guess it helps.
Do you remember who the GM was before Cashman?
It was
Watson.
Bob Watson.
Yeah, and he was pretty good. He got a championship out of there too. I remember him. Yeah, but anyway.
Wasn't Gene Michael the GM at one point too?
I think so. I think he might have been before Watson. I think.
I thought it was the reverse. I thought Gene Michael and then Watson. I mean
Watson
and Gene Michael. That's what I thought.
Yeah.
But anyway, I just threw that out there. A little trivia for the audience. How
It's a
about
long
that?
time
Why don't
ago.
you text us
You're going back to pre 1996.
Yeah, I
for
went back
another
like a
GM,
spinal
right?
cord, bro.
Yeah.
You like that?
No, we do not.
Our viewing audience, somebody's going to fact check it and send us something via Facebook. So let us know, please.
What about Fizdale being fired too? I mean, that was hot stove
it was.
information there. So listen, I think that for him that was a plus, man. Just
for him, not for the Knicks, but for him.
Oh
yes,
yeah,
yes. And his coaching future. Yes,
the Knicks are a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
So
I don't think it's good for his coaching future at all.
Oh, well, you know what, Brian? Go ahead, continue your thought, and then we'll go to Kyle on his retort.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, personally, right, for his career as a coach, I don't think it's great. I think he has to rehab whatever it is, but I think getting away from, as far as you can get away from the New York Knicks and who they are as an organization, and think about how they set this guy up to fail at the end of the day. Last year was his first year as head coach, and you totally stripped the roster down, what are you going to do with that at the end of the day? How many wins did you expect to get?
How many power forwards do you need?
This year, obviously, we need like 17, a whole roster full of them. But you're not going to get a lot of wins last year. It was about player development. And I think he struggled with that, with some of the young players that he had on the team, with Knox especially last year and this year. But then again, it's the people that are making these decisions and picking these players. He has Ntilikina on. What are you going to do with that guy? He's only had a stretch of maybe 4 or 5 games that he's ever looked like an NBA point guard, and that was earlier this year. You really didn't have a roster last year. Your best player tears his ACL. What are you going to do with that? So then you bring him in this year. He's expecting to coach Kevin Durant and some other A-list players. Your owner goes on Michael K's show and says, as much, we expect to get top level players this year in free agency, and we don't at all. Completely whiff. And now we have a whole bunch of B players, which are good players, right? Marcus Morris, good player. We have a couple others as well, but you shouldn't have expected much out of it. I do think that he had some improvements he needed to make as a coach. And I think player development was one of those. And I think as a tactician, especially in the fourth quarter, there was a lot of games that we lost because we just didn't set up things correctly or maybe didn't trust one another. And I think the coach is part of that.
Do you think he's a good coach, B?
I think he's an average coach, probably at best. Yeah.
Right.
I think he's an average coach. I think what was supposed to push him over the edge was his ability to attract free agents.
Yep.
And he didn't
come through at all
on that selling point.
That's
didn't
tough,
come through on that
though,
selling
man.
point.
It
is tough, but that's how he got the job.
Right.
That's how he got the job. So, and again, to back up Brian's point about there were issues with the rotation. And at the end of the games, who was in and who was out.
Right.
And the development of these players, I wanted Fizdale here. Who I want here now is Mark Jackson.
Yeah.
And I would love for Van Gundy to be the GM. But that's my Christmas list since we're in the season. So there you go.
Now is Van
Do you
Gundy,
believe in Santa Claus too? Because it's
Yes,
about
I do.
likely.
I do.
Is Van Gundy?
You mean Mark Jackson? I think that's very likely.
Is Van Gundy? Is he open to being a GM, or does he want to stay?
I don't know.
on TV?
I don't even think he's expressed interest.
Gotcha.
But
Exactly.
that's just what I want. I didn't ask what he wanted.
Yeah. Here's my point. My point with what you guys were saying as far as Fizdale. That's tough because this is his first NBA head coaching job. Correct? Second.
No,
Memphis.
it isn't. It's his
Memphis.
second.
My bad.
It was
My
an
bad.
interim, right?
Okay.
But was he interim? Was he the
No.
bona fide head coach for Memphis?
He was a bona fide head
Okay,
coach.
gotcha.
Took him to the playoffs.
Okay.
Brandon, be very careful with what you're about to say because I'm about to make you wrong either way. So
You
I'm
don't
just
even-
I'm warning
Wow.
you.
When
I
did,
like the setup.
when
warning
did you become a soothsayer? You have no idea what I'm going to say.
He said, "Don't
All
matter
right,
what you say.
just-
You're gonna
you
be
know what I'm
wrong
saying?
anyway."
Right. Ooh, I like
I
it.
got you.
All right.
I got
All right.
you. Just
Let's go.
agree with Brian or disagree.
You don't even know where I was going to go, but I'll take you on anyway. Here we go. So my point that I was going to make, Kyle McKenna, Captain Kyle McKenna, is the fact that I don't think that Fizdale, like the pressure on him being able to attract the players on the New York Knicks,
It's not
that
entirely on him.
it should not be entirely on him.
It's the organization.
The unattractiveness of the organization ever
And
since
the
Patrick
owner
Lewis
specifically.
left is what
Patrick
is
Lewis?
turned.
Who's
I'm
Patrick
sorry, Patrick
Lewis?
Ewing. My bad. Patrick Ewing. My
Yeah.
bad.
So you were wrong.
Patrick Ewing. If y'all would stop
Kyle.
talking over me, then I would get it right. You know what I'm saying? It's what has been bringing down this franchise. It's ownership. The only thing attractive about the New York Knicks is New York City. And that is why
And that's
the
who's
Brooklyn
attraction.
Nets are more attractive than the New York Knicks because they still have the same attractiveness of being in New York City, BKBK all day, New York, whatever. But then their front office, their organization is being run much better than the Dolans are doing
Totally,
now.
absolutely.
So I think that right there, and people are on the inside. These players, they know what's up.
Right.
They converse with one another on the inside, and they know like, nah, don't go to the Knicks, bro. Blah 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 blah. So Dolan, with a sense of false confidence, goes up there and says, we expect to get big-time players, and it fell through. We ended up getting B-level players. You know what I'm saying? And what can we do to turn that around? Is Mark Jackson going to be the one? You know, he's longer tenured as a head coach. He's from New York. You know, I think he went to Christ the King in Queens and was hooping it up over there. And like, is his presence going to be enough? Because we can't ask the owner to sell his team. It's not going to happen. So I just don't know
Unless
what
you're the
else we
Mets.
can do. I don't know what else we can do.
Mark Jackson helped build the Warriors, man. He has to get credit. He has to get credit for the
I think
dynasty.
He does.
I love
he
it.
does.
Yeah,
he
part.
does.
Yeah.
See, go ahead, Kyle. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
yeah. Let Kyle go
Well,
because I want to see if Kyle,
I want to blow up Brandon for a second. I
ahead.
want to see.
Go
I want
ahead.
to see. I want to see how he answers these
let's
questions.
go. Let's go.
Oh, boy.
So you agree or disagree with Brian that Fizdale should not have been fired after his first year?
Well,
Whoa, be careful. Be careful.
easy, Kyle.
Got to answer the question.
Right.
It's a yes or no.
Is that a Gase relation?
I'm gonna
It's
give
a
you.
yes or no.
I'm gonna give you an answer. Do I believe? Hold on, Max Kellerman.
Yeah.
Funny.
Let me Stephen A. you real quick.
Keep the name Gase in mind when you answer these questions.
Oh, it's coming.
I see
It's
the setup.
coming.
I see the setup. Do I believe that Fizdale should have been fired? No.
Okay. So you agree that he had a flawed roster.
Yes.
Okay. You agree that he was even though you didn't realize this a second ago, that he had already had an opportunity as a head coach in Memphis in which his ability to communicate with ownership and with players was so bad that he got fired. And he admitted that he needed
I don't
to do
agree
things
with that.
better.
I don't agree
You
with
don't
that.
agree with that?
I don't agree that
I mean,
his
that's-
ability to communicate, with players and stuff, and owners. As a matter of fact, one of the things that attracted, or what made him attractive, is the fact that he communicates well to other players, and he's not a dinosaur. He's like our age.
Well, he had a
you know?
problem with
I'm
Gasol.
talking
Gasol was
about-
a huge issue, and his relationship with Gasol, Marc Gasol, right?
Yep.
And so that was his ultimate undoing. Who was the star?
And ownership.
Right, and I think ownership
he spoke out against ownership,
and he went back to repair that relationship.
Okay.
So he was fired from that job and immediately hired by the Knicks right afterwards. You see where I'm going with this?
I see where you're going.
Sounds eerily similar.
Well, okay, so
to Adam Gase.
I get it.
So why, if you wouldn't fire Fizdale, are you so gung ho about firing Adam Gase right now?
Because the Knicks don't have one of the best players in the league that they refuse to funnel their offense through. And
so you're saying that Le'Veon Bell
just one actually
did what David Fizdale was supposed to do and attracted a high-priced free agent to his team to play for him. And because of that,
you said Le'Veon Bell attracted a high-priced free agent to.
No, Adam Gase attracted Le'Veon Bell, which is what Fizdale was purportedly supposed to do.
I don't think Adam Gase
attracted Le'Veon Bell. The fact that we
were
willing to pay.
And Jamal Adams.
We were willing to pay.
Money attracts everybody.
He sat out a full year not getting his paper.
I don't think Adam Gase wanted Le'Veon.
He didn't want Le'Veon, and I said that in the podcast.
No, he didn't.
It doesn't matter.
It does matter.
It don't matter.
He was the coach.
It don't matter.
He signed on to play for Adam Gase.
No, he didn't.
Kyle, if somebody was going to pay you $52 million, Mr. McKenna, Captain Kyle McKenna, if someone were to pay you $52 million, especially when you sat out last year and lost all your paper for that last year, and you're trying to recoup, and somebody's paying $52 million, wouldn't you play for an organization or a coach that you never really thought that you'd necessarily want to play for? Remember, at first, I did not want Le'Veon Bell here. Why? Because he dissed my beloved Jets. Y'all remember that?
Yeah.
He said, "Well, as long as I
put him in the toilet."
Yeah.
And then you took him out when he.
I did. I washed them off. I dusted them off.
And now you love him. You love him up, giving him big bear hugs.
I like him a lot. But you know what? I would love him more. I would love him more.
If he got the ball more.
If he got the rock.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Well, the money didn't get any of those other guys to New York in NBA free agency, and there was even more money there than Le'Veon Bell got.
Well,
there was $20 million a year waiting for you.
Well, you're talking about basketball money versus football money.
Come on,
totally different. Yeah, it's totally different basketball.
Yeah, and baseball money.
We can't be mutually exclusive on that point.
Yeah, I play for the Brewers.
You know what I'm saying? You're daggone right. That's what I'm saying.
Garrett Cole. Yeah.
My point. I'm just going to come to my final point.
Go ahead.
Is that
we need that?
Is that Brandon is not giving the same benefit of the doubt to Adam Gase that he is
because it's different circumstances. That's why.
And I just eerily similar to me.
They're not eerily similar.
I'd agree with Brandon on this one. I have to.
Man.
I didn't hear you, Kerry. What happened? Kerry, your camera's right there. Kerry, you got something in your throat? Not even throat.
He only wants to hear you because you said you agreed.
Hold on. He doesn't have something in his throat. He's got something in his throat.
Easy.
You got something in your throat?
Easy.
Yeah, look in your camera, fam.
Easy. Where's my camera?
Right there.
Excuse me.
And repeat what you said. I couldn't hear you.
I would agree with Brandon in this particular instance.
That what? Are you recanting?
No, I'm not a recant. I'm not saying. I agree with Brandon in terms of what he's saying.
Because he's a facts and logic-based dude. That's why.
Funny.
That's
but
why.
wait. He said he wasn't going to get rid of Gase earlier because we were 3 out of 4.
No, I'm talking about in terms of, the argument between Kyle and Brandon that, comparing Fizdale and Gase. I don't think it's a proper comparison.
Can I tell you something funny about Sop right now? Because Sop's chiming in here on the Mark Jackson thing, and he's saying, and he's correcting Brandon that Mark Jackson went to Bishop Laughlin and not
Christ the King,
Okay, and then he says you're wrong, B, with a big exclamation point, and then says he's from St. Albans, which is obviously supposed to be St.
Albans, not St. Albans.
So he's correcting Brandon and then making a mistake in the same sentence.
Right.
You're wrong, B. He's from St. Albans.
All right, I'm gonna read it. I'm gonna read it right here. That means he's from Queens and upstate, right? So here we go. So Mark Jackson, Bishop Laughlin High School from St. Albany's Queens. You're wrong, B. LOL. Would be best thing for Knicks. Say SJU alum, St. John's alum.
Yeah. That's the most important thing with
so
Mark
what's
Jackson.
he saying I'm wrong about? You're acting like I don't want Mark Jackson. I would take
No,
Mark
he's saying
Jackson.
that you said Christ the King instead of
wrong.
All right. And then I never even said it solidly. I think I said something like, I think Christ the King or something. Whatever. Semantics over here.
I don't
Great players came out of Christ the King, Bishop Laughlin, all of that, and Baldwin.
First of all, it's not Bishop Laughlin. It's Bishop Laughlin.
Yeah.
So stop it.
Shout out to Fort
Cut
Greene.
it out. Cut it out.
All right, Bishop Laughlin. That's fine.
All right, not
that's
Laughlin.
Cool. I mean, you spell it Loughlin.
Okay.
It looks like Laughlin. It does. Like Lori Laughlin, the one who paid $500,000 for a kid to go to college.
Okay, so
if you're in Amsterdam, you might pronounce it that way.
I'm reading it fine. I'm reading it fine.
If you're in Holland, you might pronounce it that way.
The culture changed it. Right. The culture changed the pronunciation.
But listen.
I'm doing it phonetically.
I don't want
Brandon Phillips.
I don't want to bring Mark Jackson in funny.
Hey, audience, they're killing the kid today, but the kid is standing strong, baby. Huh? How about that, huh?
They're laughing from New York to Seattle.
Dad, Kyle, take a Ludens, bro. Yeah. You over there coughing.
Take a chill. Take a chill Phillips.
Take a Ludens. Oh man, that's a De La Soul reference right there. That's a 3 feet high and rising.
He was like Prince Paul needs a Ludens.
my son absolutely loves that album. I got it on CD because it's not on Spotify.
Yeah,
and he loves. He doesn't understand most of it because there's a lot of coding in there.
Of course.
Like Buddy and Jenny.
Yeah, don't tell him about that until he's a teenager.
Nah.
Let him figure it out for himself.
Yeah.
A deep teenager at that point.
Seriously.
So,
ahead,
listen, my last comment, and I don't even know what subject matter we're talking about now. But I don't want to bring in Mark Jackson unless we replace the general manager, the folks that are actually drafting these players.
Right. Perry and
gone.
Mills
gone.
got to go.
Gone.
Got to
yeah.
go.
So, and again, it's the same argument that we had with the Jets. Right, you're going to bring in a new coach that's great, but he's going to fail because you don't have a roster at the end of the day, or people who know how to
roster,
or that can build out a roster at the end of the day. So those two got to be gone as well because they haven't shown that they can bring in players that can be successful from a drafting perspective. When you're talking about Golden State, one of the things that he wasn't the general manager, but Mark Jackson obviously was able to do player development, but they drafted correctly.
Mm-hmm.
Donnie Nelson, whatever, I think was maybe the GM at the time. It is what it is, man. We should have had Curry, but, you know.
Yeah, I mean, and Curry was not a finished product when he came out of Davidson.
He wasn't.
Somebody like Draymond, like getting somebody like Draymond who didn't, he was good in college, but
yeah.
I hear you. So, guys, girls, I think we're going to move on. All righty?
Sure.
You want to tweak me, peak me, or what? Honestly, I think we've tweaked out and peaked out. I think we.
I have a quick tweak. I was triggered.
Go ahead.
Every single time in the Ravens game that Jalen Ferguson made a play, because Jalen Ferguson's on that list of pass rushers that we could have gotten instead of
we both had
Jacques Polite.
Yeah.
Jalen Ferguson, Chase Winovich get triggered every time they do make a good play, because if we were in charge, if it was us doing it, then we would have had one of those guys. The other thing that triggers me too is that, like, the Miami Jets game, we got the worst string announcers of any broadcast ever.
We should have, bro. We don't deserve any A level people for that game.
You're kind of right about that.
Seriously, you talk about players coming from the practice squad. We had announcers coming from the practice squad. Guys that I'd never even heard of. I don't even think the color guy was a guy that I'd heard of. And usually that's like the former player or something like that. It was Jay Feely. That's who it was.
Jay Feely.
So, yeah, Jay Feely.
The most rocked up kicker you've ever seen. Dude, he's like jacked, but he sucks.
Yeah. On a somber note, found out earlier today that one of our brothers from the Bruins, John Bonafide, his mom Katie passed away.
Oh
on the 13th. And, I was telling you guys before we went on the air how, I grew up with John from preschool. The big thing with John and I, we went to elementary school, junior high school, and then high school, played football together, and then lived together after college. And his mom was a presence in my life all that time. Worked with my mom as well. So that's a big loss, and I know he's out there dealing with that.
Keep your head up, Bono.
This morning.
Keep your head up.
Yeah, Bono. Love you, man, and God bless you and your family, Bonafide, man.
For sure.
Absolutely.
Big time.
Wow. Anyway, so I'll just do a quick tweak me, peek me, and then we can wrap this up. What tweaks me is the fact that all three of y'all tried to murder me on the show. What piques me is that I stand strong and I decimated y'all like crazy.
Oh, yeah. Revisionist history.
Oh, it is revisionist. But not really, though. All righty. Yeah. So, hey, guys and girls, grown folks and kids, thanks for watching and listening to the BKBK podcast. I must say, this was definitely an entertaining episode. Much love to my co-hosts and fellow Baldwin Bruins. You can find us on Facebook Live. You can find us on Instagram. You can find us on Twitter. You can also find us on BKBK podcast podomatic.com. And, make sure you tune in. You can also find us on YouTube as well. All right, you just type in BKBK podcast, hit the subscribe button and the like button, become a fan. You will not regret it. You'll be thoroughly entertained and educated in the world of sports, especially the New York Jets. And just want to say thank you to everyone, and we'll see you next time on the BKBK podcast. Much love to you.
That's right.
Peace out, family.